Hey everyone and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be a recent read video, and today I'm going to talk about the 3 books that I have read recently. I use the term recently very loosely. I have read them recently, but probably not as recently as you think. But yes, let's just dive into those 3 books that I have read. So the first book I'm going to speak about is What My Mother and I Don't Talk About. I think I actually ended up finishing this in about January time. So you know, when I use the term recent, yeah. But anyway, thoughts are still there. I write notes on all the books that I read, so that I don't forget how I felt about them. I actually remember starting this maybe at the end of November, beginning of December, and at first when I started listening to it I wasn't really enjoying it. I listened to this as an audiobook on Scribd, and I just remember that sometimes during like November and December, which is now shocking to me, I would go for walks and I would listen to one of the chapters, like so each essay basically, and some essays were long, so I'd have to walk longer than I actually wanted to walk for. But I got to see so much more of the wonderful park that I live nearby, so I can't complain too much. But anyway, What My Mother and I Don't Talk About is an essay collection, and as you can tell from the title, it is authors talking about their relationships with their mother and what they don't talk about. But in some cases, like, I don't know, it's just a bit more varied than that. But that is the essence, that is the theme binding the essay collections together. And I think there are 15 essay collections in here. So let's say there are 15. 14 of them are around that sort of What My Mother and I Don't Talk About. The 15th essay collection, and usually those relationships with their mother are quite bad, or you know, they either don't speak, or you know, there's been some sort of rift there, or they might, you know, still speak with their parents, but that relationship isn't great. The final essay in this collection is actually an author who has a good relationship with her mum, and she's actually exploring her mother's past relationship before her mother married her father, I suppose, or had her with her father. And yeah, that's essentially the essence of this essay collection. So on Scribd they do not title the chapters, it's just simply listed as chapter 6, chapter 7. So I wrote down, like, you know, essay 8, essay 9, but then I went through back to Amazon and looked inside just so I could see what the names of these books actually were. They do announce it at the beginning. And so I had written down that my favourite essays were essay 8, 9, 10, 11 and 13, which means nothing. But my favourite essays and their names are The Same Story About My Mum by Lynn, Steger, Strong, I think that says. While These Things / Feel American to Me by Kiese, Laymon, who is the author of that memoir Heavy that has been doing the rounds that I want to read so much. Like, I wanted to read it before just because it had been doing the rounds, but after listening to this essay collection, I need to read that book. Mother Tongue by Carmen Machado, Are You Listening by Aciman, and Her Body / My Body by Nayomi, Munaweera. Guys, so overall this collection is obviously about people's relationship with their mothers, and it covers, like, it's so multifaceted because relationships with mothers are complex, and this book is exactly what I wanted to listen to, and what I got from it was exactly what I wanted. But I'm not gonna lie, up until like I listened to essay 8 I was feeling a bit like, oh, this is kind of rubbish, like I can't relate to any of these, and that doesn't make it rubbish, I guess, for me, for what I was looking for. It wasn't in those essays. But when I hit these next ones, and some of them are ones that I really love, I can't even relate to at all, but I just love them. If you're looking for an essay collection that, you know, explores the complexities of relationships with mothers, this is the essay collection for you. You might not find something that you can relate to, but I think it definitely explores just how loving, how disastrous, how complex, how wicked these relationships can be. And yeah, I was definitely blown away. I feel like I mentioned earlier about the last essay collection being someone who got on with their mum. I can see why that might have been done as a, you know, as a technique, or, you know, as a way of compiling the books together. It's probably very nice after hearing all of these relationships to hear something positive. I mean, it's not like every single essay in there was negative. They were just different. They weren't entirely the roses that you expect, I suppose. The next book I'm going to speak about is You're a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero. I thought this book was interesting. Like I said in my 2020 goals, my aim is to read like more self-help books, and I spotted this in the works, and I think it was like £3, so I was just like, I'm getting it. This book was published in 2013, and I'm so shocked by this because I think originally 2013 and then maybe 2016 in the UK, so 2013 in the US. And I'm really surprised because I've been seeing it during the rounds on like my social media, like mainly on Instagram. So I'm really shocked by this, like, but it was obviously shows the power of the fact that people are reading it and they're sharing it. it's still like a backlist title can still be super popular. This book is just your regular self-help book. It is split into 27 bite-sized chapters. Personally, I could have done without the 27 bite-sized chapters. If you put some of the chapters together, you probably could have got 20 chapters, which is fine. 27 bite-sized chapters is obviously the starting point to say that you can read this really quickly. A lot of the chapters were quite samey, and if you have read a lot of self-help books, something like this is not very new or revolutionary. I mean, there are probably some new bits in there that I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. But genuinely, there was nothing that I walked away from this thinking I haven't already had this before. But essentially what this book is like meant to help you do is to identify like the self-sabotaging beliefs that you have, stop those sort of negative thoughts that you have, and just sort of get on, I say get on with your life, you know, push for the things that you want and don't think that you can't have them because of your situation and XYZ, which, you know, can be a bad thing to tell some people, but I think it's obviously you have to be in the right headspace in the right time in your life perhaps to get the things that you want. But it's just that notion of not being like this can't happen to me because I am X. So like I said, a lot of the chapters could be condensed into one. For example, chapter 4 is the big snooze, and then chapter 5 is self-perception is a zoo. Chapter 4 talks about self-help and like ego and things like that, and you put a snooze on your big ego. And then self-perception is a zoo. This could have easily been conformed into one chapter. And also what she does with a lot of things is she talks about the theme, I guess she's talking about, and then at the end lists a couple of things that I guess are to do with that you could actively do. A lot of them are the same. So they're basically the same. So what for each single one you want people to do that? Like, she talks about the fact in the book that, you know, if you're not willing to put in the work, a lot of these things won't happen. But I don't know if you do a lot of the things, if anything's actually going to change in your life. Another thing about this book that I had to roll my eyes and lol, it is on page 111 of this book, and she is speaking about a friend. She says, I know someone who has multiple sclerosis who was told by a mentor to give away 29 things for 29 days as part of her cure. She blew it off for a while, but as her condition worsened, she finally decided to give it a try. So she's talking about her giving away stuff, yada yada yada. She says she gave away something every day. She almost instantly found herself more joyful and excited. By the 14th day, she was significantly physically better, and her business started booming, and she went on to create a blog that started a movement with tens of thousands of followers who were also giving things away daily. Her blog ultimately led to the New York Times bestselling book called 29 Gifts. Girl, I have not looked into that thing with her friend. It could very much be true, but the skeptic in me is like, excuse me? Giving away 29 gifts helped her recover from multiple sclerosis. Sis. But yeah, I don't think that was a leading factor in her recovery. So, you know, take these things with a pinch of salt. There are other aspects in here, like, if you read every self-help book talks about visualizing the parking spot that you want, and you will get it. Personally, because I don't drive, I've never had a chance to try this out. It just seems to me that if everyone has read this self-help book, and I'm not saying everyone has, but you know, these books sell in volumes, and everyone is visualizing how many parking spots are there. Like, maybe I'm just a freaking pessimist, like I know I am, but I've heard this too many times. Let's be honest, this was published in 2013, but books before her have said the same thing. So I'm like, please leave the parking spot analogy alone. But you know, she says she's never had a trouble parking. Every single time she wanted a spot, she's got a spot. So finally, I will conclude with this book is there are some comments in here that are made about depression, which I just thought were quite judgmental. Like, you can just tell by the fact that she's talking about it that she doesn't understand it in the way she's talking about it. That she's just kind of like, if you're depressed, just get off your ass and do this. It's just like, if everyone who had depression was able to do that, then, do you know what I mean? They wouldn't have depression. Like, it's a very different thing. So yeah, thank God that was towards the end of the book, because had I read it in the middle, I probably would have chucked it out the window. Overall, it's not too bad. It's very accessible. I'll give it that. It's very accessible, but I kind of feel like it's 27 bite-sized chapters that might be written for idiots. So, you know, it's varying. I didn't hate it. There were loads of things that I found that were flaws with it, but it was alright. Would I pick it up again? Yes. Do I love it? No. I'd pick it up again just because of its accessibility, and there are certain things in there that I did like, but overall, your girl was moving a bit mad. But self-help books, people do tend to do that. The next book I'm going to speak about is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I feel like it saying it wrong. I listened to this on audiobook, on that spirituality, self-help vibes right now. It's actually really funny because I was looking for another book on my boyfriend's bookshelves and I came across 2 copies of The Alchemist, but I think I legit just finished listening to an audiobook. So I decided to listen to an audiobook. I will say for the version that I listened to on script, I didn't like the narrator. The narrator was very British, and I think the characters that he was talking about There was only one British character in there, and I'm not saying, you know, each character has to be narrated as in where they're from, so we might run into a case of, but there could have been a different author. And because I hadn't read this story for many, many years, and maybe because I listened to an audiobook, I was kind of struggled to see what I liked about it the first time, or the first couple of times. There were bits that I listened to that I thought, yeah, that sounds amazing, but I thought I would just rather read that, because actually hearing it, maybe it's also the way it's being narrated, I don't really like that. Some things I would hear and I'd be like, I'm sure I thought that sounded good at the time, but this just sounds silly. Some of them do sound silly, but I still think overall it definitely spoke to, like, I guess, my sense of spirituality. It was still very much the book that I thought it was, but less impactful. So if you don't know, the story of The Alchemist is about our main character. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember his name. And he basically embarks on a journey. He has a dream about treasure, and he is a shepherd, and he basically, I don't know, he's in Spain. Yeah, he's in Spain, and he goes and speaks to some lady. I don't want to say she's that word because I think it's actually now a racial slur. And she advises him of where his treasure can be found. And I think whilst he's still in Spain, he meets a girl that he really loves, but then meets this woman, and then she tells him that he has to go to Egypt, and that's where his treasure is. And so he does that. He embarks on this journey, meets different people, explores different things, and, you know, obviously when he goes to his treasure, there is the twist of where the treasure is and what that treasure actually is. And that is beautiful. I think it's a very good message for life in general, and this whole chasing the coin, chasing the bag, you know, it's a very wonderful message, and I'm very glad I listened to it. I just think in the sense, and I just feel like I'm just talking about the audio in this sense, I just think in the sense of listening to it, it just wasn't as impactful as it could have been. So I think during the rest of the year I will pick it up, give it a little read, but yeah, I guess I still find it as inspiring, but not overall as inspiring as I found it before. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact it wasn't the first time that I read it. I am a lot older now, so I think maybe my experiences in life also allow me to sort of think about the messages in this story and whether or not I personally find that true. But still, it gives good food for thought, and just thinking about, you know, I mean, I've never been on like I'm chasing my treasure, but it gives good food for thought for what you are searching for and where you currently are, and really opening your eyes. I think, yeah, there's a lot to be said for not always constantly looking to the future for that sort of happiness that you want, and sort of living in your present and being aware of what is currently available to you now. So yeah, that is it for today's video. Please let me know if you've read any of these books here, or if you have any thoughts about the books that I have read, any sort of comments on anything that I have spoken about during this video. I would love to hear them. I'd love to have a little chat with you in the comments. So yeah, I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!